the DNC lawsuit. One thing I can agree with every progressive that's angry, that we, the person that we can all agree to hate without any reservation is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We can all agree there.
That burns like the fire of 1,000 suns.
I mean, she's a mess, and that's the understatement of the century. All right, so the DNC lawsuit, it's. Let you start. Why don't you set it up?
So the DNC has basically argued in court of law.
Put the camera on you too, if you want.
All right. So the DNC has basically argued in the court of law that they don't have to abide by neutrality, which is stated inside their charter. They don't have to abide by that. That stands as political speak, and political speak has been decided numerous times in the court of law as meaning nothing. It's empty promises. I believe even McCain was sued on this. George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush was sued on this for no new taxes.
Back in like 88.
Yep, and that was one of the precedents that I think the defense cited. And so basically they said, we have the right to decide this in a smoky back room, and you can't do anything about it because the charter is the equivalent of, free speech as well as political speak.
Right. Let's jump. I think that's the best place to jump in, right?
Okay.
We could jump there because that seems to be the line, and you can keep it on split it between us. That seems to be the line that that has pissed a lot of people off.
Absolutely.
That line to me makes total sense in the framework of what this party has always been.
Correct. It does for what the party has always been, but it completely ignores what the party actually is as an institution. So
does it?
Yes, because here's the thing, and this is one of the things Beck was arguing, is that it's more along the lines of fraudulent charity rather than political speak. So the charter is making the assumption that or making the promise to be neutral, and you're soliciting funds based off of that promise. So therefore, it's not free speech. It's the same thing as a charity soliciting funds off of fraudulent claims. So on top of that, they're also running these primaries on state funds, on taxpayer dollars. And if those taxpayer dollars are used towards a fraudulent enterprise, basically a fraudulent primary, then that's also defrauding the taxpayer.
But fraudulent in the sense of if your current charter says X and you don't do X, then you're not being truthful to us, right?
Correct.
And I think that's the core premise of
the truthful. It's the fact that you are actually soliciting funds using that language and using a specific language of neutrality, which is not just in the charter, but this woman, as well as Donna Brazile and numerous others, were on television throughout the entire primary process.
But do you agree? Do you agree that they can change their charter tonight and be like, well, fuck it, we're not going to be neutral at all?
Correct. But up until this point, their charter was
right, which is why I have absolutely, I support the lawsuit in that framework. But what trips me out is that people are disturbed by the reality that the Democratic Party and any political party could choose who they want. I mean, historically, this is what they've done.
Correct. And that was what the whole problem with 68 was and why there were riots in the street, which is why they changed their charter to reflect this. One of the interesting things you said, though, is that this is the framework within which they've operated since 68, and no one really takes it seriously, which is actually one of the arguments the defense puts forward, is that everyone knows they're crooked, so why do we have to be straight?
Yeah. So what's the problem? Like, why are people... I guess you said it. You said it the other day. Like, I'm in the weeds of every political story, whether I cover it or not. I'm in the weeds of it every single damn day, and so I have to get to a point for my mental health that I don't allow myself to get angry about stuff anymore. So now I'm on this side of my journey. I'm looking at it and I'm like, but folks, this is who the Democratic Party is. Like, they could they could lose this lawsuit, right? They could have to restore and pay people back. They could do all these things, and then the very next day change their charter to say completely F it, we're going to do it the way we want to do it.
Correct.
So in terms of the future, I don't believe that this is about the money, and I think this is more about this is an organization that is not living up to the promises that they made, and so let's put this out. Let's have this lawsuit so that we can make this public, right? I think it's about exposing the DNC for who they really are. Right. On the basis of that, I'm behind the lawsuit 100%. I don't think it's really about money. And as people are saying, it's about money. It's not about money. It's a principle thing. I get the principle thing. But once you make the principle and you win, right? You win and you make the statement, then what?
Well, then at the same time, and again, I think you're a little bit skewed on this. And
I'm jaded. I'm jaded.
Well, it's not just jaded. I think you're skewed because of what you just said. You're in the weeds of every political thing. You're on Twitter all day. You're following what's going on, and so am I. We are not normies.
Yeah, I get it. I don't agree.
So this lawsuit comes.
Well, I'm not sure about the political connotations of normies. So if that's like improper, somebody let us know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I apologize if it is. But we're not the average American who's not really paying, and the average voter who's not really paying attention to the same things that we are. I mean, I have very, I would say, politically active and politically cognizant people in my life who still aren't to the level that you and I are.
Yeah.
So they don't really know anything about this lawsuit.
And which is why this is, again, I'm 100% for the lawsuit in the context of let's expose the DNC.
Right. And that's exactly what this will do to that group of people, to the majority of Americans who have
no idea that this is going on.
Correct.
Right. Absolutely.
Who think that the primary was fair and square and straight and narrow and didn't read any of the WikiLeaks emails and didn't read any of the other things.
And again, it's like, it's almost like, and again, I have to, thank you for reminding me, right? I can't imbue my understanding of the system on every person out there. But once you get to the point where and not to say that I'm smarter than everyone else, it's just that this is American politics.
Yeah.
This is international politics, but we can focus on America. This is what political parties do.
Yes.
But more importantly than that, once we expose, and again, before I go any further, I want you to go to progressivearmy.com and check out the article, 7 jaw-dropping revelations from the hearings on the motion to dismiss the DNC fraud lawsuit. It's wordy, but just go to the website. It's an article that's up now, and it's got a whole lot of shares. A lot of people are reading this by Zach Haller. Make sure you go there.
Shout out to Zach. He did an amazing job, not only with this article, but also with tweeting out all weekend the stuff from Jam Pack, the actual transcripts.
I loosely follow Zach. I can't do the outrage all day long. Zach's
pissed.
He's outraged all day long, and I get it. I'm not knocking him.
Hey,
but I will say this. I would say this. This is one hell of a written article.
Yes,
he wrote the hell out of this damn article. I was reading it. I'm like, oh, why are people mad about this? And I'm like, oh, this is a good man. He wrote the shit out of this. Oh, this is well written, right? So even though I'm like, what the hell are people upset about? I don't think people should be upset about stuff that they know is going to happen. I think you should be mobilized to change it, right? And I think that we're expending a lot of energy on one side of the equation when we need to have that same amount. We need to have that much energy and more to change it. Because, I could be very specific here, not any generalities. Once they win this lawsuit and the world becomes aware of what the DNC is, the DNC can change and become whoever they want to be because they can write their own charter. Yes. What are the progressives going to do at that point? They're going to be either still left out in the cold without access to a major political party, or they're going to have to use that same energy that they had being angry and organize.
Correct. And you just talked to someone who's doing that organization in the background. You have DSA. You have others who are already starting to do that organization. If you can bring them under an umbrella group outside of the Democratic Party that actually is a big tent party and not just a big tent rhetorically and corporate otherwise, then you will have made progress. And I think
you know what PIP can use? You know what PIP needs?
Money.
You know what DSA needs?
Money.
You know what all these organizations needs?
Money.
Not just money, but this energy. This rage to be focused into action. I guarantee you every person who's leading an organization could benefit so much from the energy that's being used for this lawsuit. And not just the lawsuit. I'm not saying anything bad about the lawsuit. I actually agree with the lawsuit. People need to know this is what it is, right? Yeah. No questions asked, right? I don't think it's a frivolous lawsuit. I don't think it's about the money. And I think this article that Zach wrote, even though I cannot handle how angry he is all the damn time, I think it is a brilliant article, and I think it's so well written. I'm just thoroughly impressed with it. But at the same time, we need that energy. They need that energy at DSA. They need that energy at PIP. I mean, they need this to be translated from being just outrage into action.
Well, I think that most of the people who are outraged are taking action, like Zach is getting the message out there. And Zach is outraged and furious. And so am I. I mean, that's why I started talking politics. That's why I was forced onto Twitter against my will. And that's why I'm here right now. It's because of my anger and outrage.
We only have 60 seconds left.
Right, so what I was saying is
finish it up.
That all of these people are in the vanguard. When you build a movement behind them, you'll see that vanguard being turned towards a direction like you're talking about. Because all of these people that we're talking about, especially Zach and yourself, others, have tried to channel that rage into a constructive faction.
I can't see that right now. I'm going to be honest with you. What you said sounds good.
Okay.
I want to believe it. What I see right now are a lot of people who are angry. I'm not knocking your anger, but I see us being more angry than we are being active. And I know for a fact that these organizations could use this energy for activism, for let's get active.